Glasses in session. We go to the Glasser guest line and check in with our guy, Cole Thompson, who always joins us during college football season. Great to have Cole here to preview the NFL draft. Make sure you guys are following Cole on X at Mr. Cole Thompson. Does a great job as college football host for SEC Unfiltered and also managing editor for the Texans Wire. You guys can go check out Cole's mock draft on his X account. And Cole, credit to you, my friend, because right now everybody pretty much has the same 4 number 1 picks: Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell. But you were on Jeanty being the number 5 overall pick to the Chicago Bears. And right now, the way the markets are moving, they're tending to agree with you. So what is it that you thought was going to happen and propel Chicago to trade up to number 5 with Jacksonville?
I just personally think that they love the idea of getting a guy that can be that Jahmyr Gibbs running back and take a lot of pressure off of Caleb Williams in this offense underneath Ben Johnson. We watched last season how successful the Lions were to have a complementary piece to pair alongside with their passing attack. And it was 2 running backs, and it was having a DeAndre Swift, and it was naturally having a guy in a Jahmyr Gibbs that could elevate your team when it comes to the passing elements, when it comes to the pass protection, the physicality. And so you throw all that in there. I think that the more that we get closer to the draft and we're hearing about how Las Vegas is interested and how potentially a team may be willing to move up to number 6 to go jump Las Vegas, or even that Jacksonville is interested. I personally think Jacksonville, the interest there is more so based around the thought, well, let's see what we can get in draft compensation to take a player that we really like at 5, but maybe closer towards 10 and 11 and get a 3rd round pick in the process. I feel like the Bears are all in on Ashton Jeanty. It has felt that way since pre-combine when they made the selection to go ahead and hire Ben Johnson, and they've done enough to shore up the offensive line. They feel really good about where they are in the secondary. They've extended the right players. They have a good foundation underneath Ben Johnson. So at this point, with 2 second-round picks, swing for the fences. Go get yourself your star running back. Make sure that he is the bell cow of the Windy City and taking a lot of pressure off of Caleb Williams to take that next step forward.
I love that Jahmyr Gibbs comp. Obviously, with Ben Johnson coming over now as the Bears head coach, makes a lot of sense. Cole, I also want to ask you right now on BetMGM, you can pretty much go through every team in the NFL and you can pick who they're going to select, what position group they're going to select with their first selection, right? You can go through all these different teams. As you kind of look at the board, especially maybe like in the teens or in the 20s, is there a team that you look at and you feel pretty confident tonight you have an idea of what position they're going to draft? Maybe not necessarily the player, but certainly what position that team would go after.
I'll just start off with 2, but the first one is, it's not a position, it's a school. You have Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh coaching out in Los Angeles right now, and there are 2 guys by the names of Kenneth Grant and cornerback Will Johnson, who, for my money, still is the most complete cornerback prospect in this class, but with the injuries and the unavailability throughout the pro day and the combine, he's slipping down draft boards. There's no way that you can sell me that a guy that won a national championship before he hightailed it out of Ann Arbor would not like one of those players to reunite with the same defensive coordinator that was calling the shots when they were there to hoist up that national title. So Kenneth Grant or Will Johnson, if one of them is on the board, so defensive line or cornerback, I absolutely think is going to be in play for Los Angeles. And then let's stay in the AFC West. I think it's running back for the Denver Broncos. You know, as much as I want to lean with wide receiver, I think that you may be enticed to go after an Emeka Egbuka. We have heard so much about the emphasis on having an established run game with Sean Payton. And at times last year, that wasn't there. They really like what they have in a guy in Cortland Sutton as the wide receiver 1. They feel really confident about where their offensive line is going. They feel good about Bo Nix and his progression. And they've seen some really solid breakout players. You had Marvin Mims, who took a massive step forward last year. They still have Deshaun Valet. They still have Troy Franklin. This is a very good wide receiver draft if you're looking for a number 3 option, and that's kind of what Denver needs. So it feels like that they're going to go running back at this point. I know they want to go after a tight end. I don't think they're going to be able to move up into the top 14 to go past a team such as the Indianapolis Colts. So you got to pivot to the next position. I think it's going to be TreVeyon Henderson, but if you just told me straight position, I think running back is off the board at pick number 20.
Yeah, all right, there you go. A couple of teams to keep an eye on there in the AFC West. Cole, also want to ask, like all these mock drafts that we see, it's different for certain people, right? Some guys have one guy going in the first round. Other people have another guy going in like the second round potentially. Who's a guy that you're higher on maybe than most? Maybe a guy you have going in the first round or a guy that you have going top 15 that maybe some people don't even have in the first round?
I think Matthew Golden is going to fall in that range. Whether or not I agree with that selection, I just feel like when you have a complimentary wide receiver, the way that Matthew Golden plays the game, and is a very good vertical receiver, he can stretch the field, and he rarely drops balls. The consistency of how he played at the University of Texas, and you also throw in that special teams element. I feel like when you add all of that together, that is something that is just going to work in any style of offense. Because as long as you have a wide receiver number one in the building, say a Dallas Cowboys at pick number 12, say a Miami Dolphins at pick number 13, where you would be the wide receiver number 3, say the Indianapolis Colts who have Michael Pittman Jr., you can feel pretty confident about where you're going to get quality play in a guy such as Matthew Golden. I think another wide receiver is Emeka Egbuka. A lot of people are kind of teetering on him. Where does he fall in that range? I don't know what his overall potential is going to be in the NFL when it comes to ceiling, but I'll tell you what his floor is. This is a 65 catch, 785 to 825 yard receiver for 6 touchdowns a season. That is a quality number 2 in today's NFL that is going to work with every single wide receiver on the outside. The limitations with him come in the slot, but I still feel like the value of this passing attack, when you look at teams like Houston and Los Angeles, and even Pittsburgh for that matter, the more weapons you have, the easier it is to mitigate the flaws on the offensive line or in the run game. And then the other player, Mason Taylor out of LSU, I believe is going to find a way to end up in the first round tonight. It may end up being at pick 32 with the Philadelphia Eagles. We know the Dallas Goedert situation is kind of perplexing, but there always seems to be that one guy that kind of starts to gain a lot of traction. I've spoken to a lot of people in the last several days. They feel like that Mason Taylor is going to be a top 32 pick before we get to Friday morning.
We're talking with Cole Thompson here on Send It In. Make sure you guys are following Cole on X at Mr. Cole Thompson. Cole, got a couple minutes left. Want to run a couple more things by you. Obviously, one of the big topics of tonight is how many quarterbacks we're going to see get drafted in the first round. The market is at 2.5 right now. You're getting some plus money on the under. Cole, how many quarterbacks do you think we get selected tonight? Do we just see 1, 2, 3? How many do you think?
How many do get selected? 2. How many should get selected? 0. But I'll at least say 1 because if Cam Ward is going to go number 1. So we know that's a locked-in deal. But when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, I've spoken to a lot of people out in the New Orleans area recently. There is no speculation other than some fan blog post that decided to put up a really cool graphic that says Shedeur Sanders interested in New Orleans, that he's going to go pick number 9. So he is not going to be a top 10 pick as of right now. But the question is, who is willing to move on up? Cleveland is a really interesting team. I think New York at the end of round 1 is a really interesting team. Pittsburgh at 21, if they feel like the rest of their roster is so well put together, they're going to take a quarterback, and it'll be just like Kenny Pickett 2.0. But I also think that scheme fit really does matter for a lot of these quarterbacks. You have to go to the right system if you want any success. And for my money, when I look at Kevin Stefanski, the way that he coaches quarterbacks, that's the way I want Shedeur Sanders to work in the NFL. I look at a guy like Kellen Moore. I think he would absolutely be able to get the best version of Jackson Dart. I believe that Mike Tomlin and the offense underneath Arthur Smith could get the best version out of Jalen Milroe. But scheme fit matters. And if you're going to put them in the wrong scheme fit, it's not going to help your franchise. It's only going to be a waste of a pick. I ultimately think Cleveland trades up at the end of round 1 to go get Shedeur Sanders, and we get Travis Hunter and Shedeur out in the land. So we won't see a lot of winning this year, but we're going to see a lot of headlines and Dion rumor speculation to go follow his teams over to the AFC North in 2026.
That would be super interesting. All right, definitely monitoring that storyline. Cole, before we let you go, in about a minute, which team are you most intrigued by tonight? Like when you go through your mocks and you look at all the teams, who's the team that you're really watching to see what they do, whether it's trading up, trading back, who they select, who's the team for you?
I'm going to be completely real, and this is one that I didn't think it would come down to. The Arizona Cardinals at 16 just are really exciting to me for so many different reasons, because they have needs on the offensive line. They could use another wide receiver. They need a premier outside cornerback, and all of those players are still going to be available. But Monty Ossenfort comes from the coaching tree or the executive tree of Bill Belichick, where trading down is really smart, and you may feel better about the draft compensation and taking a swing on an edge player, pair alongside with Josh Sweat at, say, 25, 27, 29, then taking that dude at 16 and getting a third-round pick or a second-round pick in the process. You may also feel so inclined to move up and go get yourself a player like maybe a Mason Graham if you feel like that you're just that close to winning in the NFC West. So that 16 spot, There's like 9 or 10 dudes that all make sense there. And there's also like another 20 that if you just trade down 2 spots, they also make sense. Or if you trade up 5 spots, like 6 more dudes also make sense. Arizona, I think, is going to really kind of set the tone for what we can expect in this draft. You will either see a ton of trades after Arizona moves, or Arizona's going to be very busy getting a lot of phone calls.
All right, there you go. Really great stuff from our guy, Cole Thompson. Make sure you give him a follow on X at Mr. Cole Thompson. College football host on SEC Unfiltered, always also the managing editor for Texans Wire as well. Cole, enjoy the draft tonight, my friend. Appreciate the time. We'll talk again soon.
Take care, guys. Just remember, there's only one quarterback that needs to be off the board.
That's it. Just one. We'll see.